Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you a Diablo 3 patch 2.4 Reaper of Souls guide to a monk build that's doing really well on the public test realm. This is a variant of the dual gen static charge monk from 2.3, but outfitted for 2.4 to make use of a couple new set bonuses. Now, as usual, this is done on the public test realm. Everything is still subject to change before the patch releases, so do check back in the future for any potential updates to this build and for a more in-depth treatment. But for the time being, we're going to go over an overview of what this build entails. First, we're going to take a look at the skills, and just bear in mind that this build revolves around using two primary attack skills: Fists of Thunder Static Charge and Way of the 100 Fists, Fists of Fury. Now, our damage is coming from Fists of Thunder Static Charge. This will be a lightning build. And what's great about Static Charge is this effect. Fists of Thunder applies Static Charge to enemies hit for 6 seconds. Each time an enemy with Static Charge gets hit by you, there is a chance that every other enemy with Static Charge within 40 yards takes damage as lightning. So this build revolves around applying this effect to as many enemies as possible, and then using Way of the 100 Fists to trigger that Static Charge. Fists of Fury has a really high proc chance. If you don't know what that means, basically that just means it has a really high chance to trigger the Static Charge. So for most scenarios, when there's a lot of enemies on screen, you first want to be tapping them all with Static Charge, and then use Fists of Fury as your main attack power. And with your Fists of Fury, it's important that you get the full attack cycle out there, because that'll squeeze out that additional amount of damage. When you're dealing with just a single target, however, like a Rift Guardian, and when there are no spawns around him, Fists of Thunder will be your primary attack power. And that's simply because you don't have a bunch of enemies to apply that Static Charge to. Onto the accompanying skills, we have Epiphany, Desert Shroud, just an all-around amazing monk skill. Gives you some great damage reduction during those big fights, plus lets you dash around a lot, teleporting to enemies. This will make it a lot easier to apply the Static Charge to multiple enemies on screen, and it also increases your spirit regeneration. And we'll soon find out why that's important as well. Next, we'll want Mystic Ally. You'll notice that we have not applied a rune on that, and we're going to go over why exactly we're doing this once we get to the Inna's set bonuses. Next, we want Dashing Strike Radiance. We're going to be using Dashing Strike as 1, an escape power, 2, as a power that lets us engage and tap additional enemies to apply that Static Charge, and 3, to gain that attack speed buff. We really want to be attacking as fast as possible and hitting as hard as possible. Lastly, Mantra of Salvation Agility. This gives us an extra bit of survivability. Onto our passives. We want Alacrity to up that attack speed. We want Seize the Initiative, again, to up that attack speed. Harmony, all around just a great defensive option for monks. And Beacon of Etar will help us gain more uptime on our Desert Shroud Epiphany. Onto our gearing options. We want the 2-piece set bonus from the Raiment of 1,000 Storms set. That gives us more attack speed and more damage with our attacking skills. It doesn't matter which 2 pieces of raiment you get, but just bear in mind that you also need to get 5 pieces of Inna's. So for example, you could instead get Inna's gloves and the raiment helm. Just make sure you have 2 raiments and 5 Inna's, because along with that, we're going to be cubing a Ring of Royal Grandeur. Before we get to Inna's, we're also using the Endless Walk set. That's the Traveler's Pledge Amulet and the Compass Rose Ring. That'll make us deal double damage when we're standing still, which is when we're dealing damage, and we'll take less damage while we're moving around. Spirit Guards, again, just a great monk defensive item. Every time you attack with your Spirit Generator, you take less damage, and we will be constantly attacking with our Spirit Generators. We are working in a Unity Ring. Of course, this is for solo play. For group play, you might want to go with a Convention of Elements, possibly try to work in a Band of the Root Chambers, or try to get creative there, but for now we're just focusing on the solo viability of this build. Of course, a Unity is only good to you if you also equip a Unity on your follower, along with that follower token that renders your follower invulnerable. Next, we want the Shenlongs set. That's Shenlong's Relentless Assault and Shenlong's Fist of Legend. This increases the damage of our Spirit Generators for every point of Spirit that we have. Further, when you reach max Spirit, all your damage is doubled, and then your Spirit drains until you have no more. The cycle then continues. So that period of time during which your Spirit is going from max to 0 while it's draining, I like to call that the shenlong window. That's when your damage is maximized, so that's when you ideally want to be hitting your priority targets. Lastly, onto the Inna set. The 2.4 reworked Inna set is awesome. You gain the base effect of all 4 mantras at all times, plus you gain the 5 runed mystic allies at all times. But wait, there's more. The passive effect of your mystic ally and the base passive effect of all your mantras is doubled, and for every mystic ally that you have out, your damage is increased by 50%. That's 5 mystic allies for a total of 250% additional damage, but then we're going to be cubing our crudest boots to double the number of mystic allies we have, bringing that up to 10 for 500% increased damage. And you also get this nice little army of followers running around with you, which is quite adorable. And that takes us to why we have Mystic Ally on our hotbar. While yes, activating that will give us the active effect of our Mystic Allies, currently there's a bug with the way Mystic Allies behave. You tend to lose allies. Sometimes you'll only have 5 of them out. Sometimes you'll have more than 5 but fewer than 10. This will often happen when you change areas or if you do anything to change your equipment, which generally isn't an issue in Greater Rifts, but there still are certain conditions under which your Mystic Allies mess up. And generally, by just popping the active Mystic Ally skill, you reset back to 10 Mystic Allies. Hopefully this will be fixed, and we'll be able to free up that slot. But for the time being, that's probably the main purpose of keeping this skill on our hotbar. Now again, we won't be going into the minutia of what stats we want on what pieces of gear, but do check back in the future for when patch 2.4 goes live and everything has been finalized. But one thing I will note is that in your Paragon points, you do want to be pumping out Max Spirit. And that's simply because, again, that translates into more damage. For your legendary gems, you want Simplicity Strength, Bane of the Trapped, and Bane of the Stricken. You're seeing me use an unoptimized version of this build. I'm clearing a level 70 Grift solo, and I barely have any ancient items, but on the PTR leaderboards, a player called Danta completed a solo Greater Rift tier 88 with this build and an optimized gear setup. That wraps up this video. Thanks for watching. Check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this one, share with friends, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.